seem a little mundane, although some of them are a bit more sophisticated.
Ah, nee, 4. Scared men don't win.
Yes. Welkom allemaal. Welcome everybody, because this is Dutch. Sorry about this, my phone just went off. Welcome to the ISA podcast. My name is Faye Mohammed, and today we're going to talk about different subjects. It's been about war, it's been about global politics. We had a lot of subjects, and to be honest, today we're gonna do it a little bit different. We're gonna talk about my approach. Some people have been asking me, okay, so what is, I've seen some things about motivation from you, discipline, willpower, right? The 5 people around you. And basically, what they've been saying is like, okay, well, what does that then consist of? And because the reason why I developed this is because nowadays there's how can we say it? There's people don't know what to do anymore. In the sense of they lost their compass. Look at globally. Look at how things are going, right? Just look at the global politics. Look at war. Just look at generally everything. People have lost their sense of belonging, especially when you look at men. Men, they have lost their compass. They lack a sense of what am I doing here when it comes to dating, when it comes to their life philosophies, when it comes to can I make enough money? Can I support a family? There are lots and lots of troubles basically going on. And that's basically the worst part. So I'm checking something, guys. Give me 1 second because I got an important notification. All right, okay, this is going well. Let me just stack that up here. I need to open my chat to see. All right. One moment. Okay. All right, now I'm set. Okay. Willpower, discipline, motivation, 5 people around you. Okay. I've compiled some videos today and something I've compiled like for each subject. So what I was basically saying, to come back to my introduction, was that yeah, guys have lost their sense, right? They feel a little bit lost. Inflation, wars, and especially information wars. Nowadays, if you go online, it's really hard to find, okay, what should I believe, right? What is normal? What is something that I, as a human being, can say, okay, this is true? We nowadays have a lot of AI content. We have people who just basically lie. They just put sauce into it, or they exaggerate things online. So basically, as a human being, for you to now find out what is real information, what is real content, what can help you, is very difficult to navigate. And I think that's why podcasts exist, right? To filter out all these information, because you get bombarded so much on social media, right? So let's walk a little bit then through why I made this formula. So the title of the video indeed was like school, right? It's basically about school. It's not enough. So we want to learn you a couple of things here that can help you forward. Doesn't matter your situation. If you go to school, if you don't go to school, that really doesn't matter at all. So that's what we basically want to make sure that you progress in that, so that you also understand alternative learning, other things to become better. And I want to start with somebody that's basically the kind of a guru of self-development, I would say, Jim Rohn. Anybody who has ever read a self-development book, I guess, and wants to go down to basics of willpower, motivation, leadership, all those type of things, probably has heard of Jim Rohn. So let's just look at a small video I have of him. Obviously, he's also one of the people I studied during my beginning years, I guess, right? To find out what motivation leadership is. Let me see if I can switch this up. Mr. Jim Rohn, let's see what you got to say.
Surround yourself with individuals who uplift and inspire you. Your environment plays a pivotal role in shaping your mindset and actions. Associate with people who encourage your growth, challenge your limits, and support your aspirations. Remember, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose wisely. Surround yourself with individuals.
So this was just about the 5 people around you. I just wanted to see you, this face. This is the old man we're talking about. He's already passed away. I think, right? He passed away. Let me take a quick look, guys. He definitely passed away. Oh yeah, for sure. Come on, man. 2009. All right, real solid, Faye. All right. Okay, so that's what I wanted to begin, right? Jim Rohn. So if you want to invest in yourself, you can invest in your work, do everything to make your job and your boss happy. But if you invest in yourself, you can get much more. And that's one of the core sayings of Jim Rohn, right? You need to invest in yourself. And that's what I always tell young guys. Young guys nowadays, they come to me, "Hey, Faye, I want to make money, man. Stack paper." I'm like, okay, I understand. But to do that, you need to be competent. You need to have skills. You need to add value to the world. As a man, I think for me personally, just speaking, as a man, I think your most important job is to add value to the world, because that's what you will be judged on. Yeah, as a woman, you'll be judged on other things, but as a man, you'll be judged about what you create in the world. And the more you create, and the more basically it's like this: the more people benefit from you, right? Your wife, your kids, your family, your friends, in the sense of you can, because you have money, right? You can provide for them. You can add value to them. You can teach them stuff. You can take them to trips. You can have them give them experiences. You can have a podcast where you display information. So basically, this is what I'm saying. What you need to do instantly is for you to make sure that you add value. And how let's take a step on how we're going to add value. The first thing I want to talk about in my formula, it's what we call MDW5, right? Motivation, discipline, willpower, and the 5 people around you. Now, the person who you're going to see a lot regarding these subjects is a person called Andrew Huberman, right? Andrew Huberman is people call him controversial on the internet. And that's basically the people who are the set order, I would say, in that industry. I learned a lot from him. Some things I already knew, and some things I was just like totally flabbergasted. And I took a lot of that information which I use in my daily life. So I just wanted to watch like a basic introduction video to understand a little bit what motivation is, and after that I'll go into my own explanation about what motivation is. So let's take a begin look. So I have a video lined up for you guys that's about dopamine. So I believe, like, let's say motivation, right? I believe motivation consists of 2 parts, a physical part and a mental part. And the physical part of that is for men is testosterone, and the mental part of that, it's also bodily, but let's say the mental part in this case is dopamine, right? That's what gets the motivation going. Andrew Huberman knows everything about dopamine, and he knows everything about testosterone. So perfect guy to ask. So let's see what he has to say a little bit about dopamine. It's an 8-minute video. I'm just gonna scroll a little bit through it. Not gonna watch the whole thing. Here goes.
If we are going to feel motivated at all, that is, if we are going to wake up in the morning or have any period of time during our day in which we feel like we are capable of pursuing goals, we are going to have a healthy level of baseline dopamine. In other words, we are going to have enough dopamine in the wave pool, enough water in the wave pool, that is, before we can generate any waves or peaks in dopamine, let alone troughs and the rest. So how do we achieve a healthy baseline level of dopamine? Well, there we can really look to some foundational practices that perhaps you've heard about on this podcast before, and that to some of you might seem a little mundane, although some of them are a bit more sophisticated, maybe even esoteric. The good news is that we can all control these things, and they don't require purchasing anything, but they do require some degree of regular upkeep and effort. Those things include what I call the very basics. Now, the very basics, put in the context of...
All right, so what I would advise everybody is definitely to watch this whole clip of Andrew Huberman in total after this show, obviously. You can learn a lot from him. Let's see what he has to say about some other parts here. Let me scroll a little bit.
Actually called the Toolkit for Sleep, near a Third Eye Center.
Let me see.
Non-sleep deep rest, so-called NSDR, very similar, although different to what's
It's a
sometimes
little bit
called
too
yoga
complicated, to be honest. I'm going to check it out. Okay, here it talks about increases.
And the relationship between the hypothalamus.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit over it.
Other endocrine organs.
He's really talking about your
sets
brain.
In motion a
really talking about your hormonal system.
In neuromodulators, dopamine.
Okay, I understand that this, if you watch, it's going to be very complicated.
elevated mood, alertness, etc.
But
throughout the day. It also helps your sleep at night.
I'm going to
Stay
get to there,
recovered,
guys.
focused.
Just hang on
Yes,
with me.
believe it or not, that morning sunlight exposure does increase your levels of dopamine.
Okay. A lot of people miss that. But what he said was he was talking about sunlight exposure. Ask Cristiano Ronaldo, ask a lot of athletes, what is the first thing they normally do in the morning? If you obviously live in a country where there's sun, obviously not everybody has that opportunity. But one of the first things they do as men is they try to get sunlight in their face and their eyes, basically, to start up the waking process, and it improves your dopamine levels and your general how you feel. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out also, okay, what is dopamine then, right? Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that's in your head and in your system, and that basically is the reward system for punishing behavior or rewarding behavior. And the way you feel, if you have a high dopamine level when you're doing a certain activity, that means you feel content, you feel fulfilled, you feel happy, all those type of emotions related to it. To be a motivated person, dopamine is essential because basically what it does, it has you the glasses half full mentality instead of the glasses half empty mentality. When you're in a dark tunnel and you look behind you, it's dark. And when you look in front of you, it's also dark. That's when dopamine is low, right? You have a negative outlook on life. That's what low dopamine means. It's just a negative outlook on life. You feel that way because you, on a consistent daily basis, do not feel that you're accomplishing something. And when you're not accomplishing something, you tend to ward into a negative spiral. And when you then do something, you cannot get the same reward your body and your mind needs to feel fulfilled. So you yourself can convince yourself, okay, I'm doing something right. That's basically what dopamine is, right? It's a reward system. Now let's explain what can you do then basically to train it, right? Sunlight was one of the things, taking ice baths, ice cold showers. Those are some of the physical aspects, right? Those things also tend to dopamine and like testosterone. Those are like things that are very connected in certain ways. Because if you take a cold shower or if you take an ice bath, for instance, not all ice baths are made equally. I just want to say study ice baths first before you start doing that, because you need to take it in a certain day of the time and not behind certain activities, right? So not every ice bath is created equally. But if you, those are physical things. If you take that ice bath, it will improve your testosterone over a period of time. But at the same time, it will give you an extreme dopamine kick. You feel like you've conquered the world. Dude, if I can do an ice bath 8 a.m. in the morning, what the hell am I going to do this day that's going to be worse than that? I do that the first time I get out of bed. So that mentality, right? So that's the dopamine effect. You feel invincible, right? You can also compare it. It's a bad example in a sense, but to explain it more, let's say people go to festivals, right? We know drug consumption in festivals, hard drugs is like insane, right? Everybody there uses drugs. Well, not everybody, but let's say a lot of people use hard drugs. Let's take cocaine. I've never used it in my life, guys. I'm a chicken for it. I don't use hard drugs, right? Cocaine. What I hear from the people I know who use cocaine, yes, I know people who use cocaine. What they say is they get they get very happy, extremely confident. They can challenge the world, any business, and I can date any girl, right? They have that type of mentality. But that's the whole part, right? But let's go a little bit back. What happens is if you use cocaine, yes, you will get extreme highs of dopamine and you feel extremely fulfilled and happy and whatever. But you're going to crash also, right? And that's basically, if people use cocaine, right, that's a wrong way of building your dopamine, because those crashes are going to hit you insanely. Now, so how now, let's say, how do you now build it in a natural way? A natural way to build it is, like I said, ice baths, those type of things. But now let's use it in a way that actually helps your life significantly here. If you learn something new, you become smarter. You being smarter makes you feel more confident. When you become more confident, you feel better about yourself and your outlook on life, aka the glasses half full and the glasses half empty thing. So learning is a dopamine increaser. The first thing I did with all my students who had internships, whoever went to my office, especially the latest batch that I had, I in my office have like a bookshelf with books on it, and people know that I work out a little bit, right? Not insanely, just I'm not a fitness model or something, but just I try to do my best. So the first thing I said to my students basically when they came in, because they're all unmotivated, 18, 19 years old, and they want to make 5K a month right away. I finished my bachelor's and now I have all this arrogance in their head, right? They did not do anything in life, but it still gives them a false sense of I've done something, right? You just got your damn degree. Congratulations. Line up like everybody. So that's not. So what happened is they were unmotivated, low dopamine, bad outlook on life. That was their overall mentality. They were motivated in the core. They wanted to do something, but they had no guideline. First thing I did, okay, go to the gym and pick one of these books and start reading. And what happened is automatically I triggered two things. Because they were start learning, they became smarter every day, and they had talks with me. I talked with them every day for 15 minutes to half an hour, before work, after work, whatever, every day. And we spoke about everything, right? Sometimes even longer. Those talks, the books, and the gym in 1 week, 2 weeks made them feel better every day. Because it was a requirement. What happened all of a sudden? They came 1 hour or half an hour early in the office. They stayed an hour later. They were more productive. They felt smarter, more confident. They were talking about, hey, maybe we should go some dates, right? So being more smart, becoming more in shape as a man is the best thing you can do, because you need to understand when you go into that interview with your client, when you go into the interview with your business partner, when you go into that interview with somebody you try to convince, whoever it may be, your posture, the way you speak, the way you act, the words you use, the kind of information you portray. If you want to be an attractive person, you need to learn how to be attractive. Becoming attractive as a man is not something that's just God-given. Being attractive is a skill you need to learn over time. And what I mean with attractive, it's like you need to talk about everything. It's not just finances, guys. You need to talk about your health. You need to talk about your physical shape, how it looks. You need to talk about your hormonal system. You need to figure out, okay, finances. You need to learn skills. You need to speak. Informal skills, formal skills. You need to work on your religion. You need to work on your skills with women. You need to be able to speak with them, converse with them. So I've already named 9 to 10 things, guys, that we need to focus on. But what most guys focus on is just making money. But then they have a bad relationships. Women leaves them, cheats or whatever. Or at the end, they didn't spend any time on their religion if they're religious. And then their whole thing starts falling down and they have regrets later on in life. Right? So the key is to work on all these things simultaneously in your life and focusing on key elements and part of your life that will enhance your life. Hence, you need motivation, right? So that's why that dopamine part is so important. So learning new skills. So if somebody's unmotivated, learn them chess. Let them play piano. Let them get a driver's license. It doesn't matter. Let them learn some new math. 2 + 2 is 4. I don't give a damn. Put them in a state of learning. Just keep doing that every day, and their worldview will start changing bit by bit. Now the testosterone part. Guys, working out for free. Go to the gym. You need to work on your body shape. You don't necessarily need to have like immense muscles or whatever. You need to have a shape that fits your clothes, that your clothes look nice. Because let me just tell you guys something when it comes to dating, guys. Women look at your body shape, right? They don't necessarily just look at your muscles. They look at the way you walk, right? A little bit straight. They love wide shoulders. Okay, that's not given to everybody, but you can train that, right? So they look at your posture, and when you walk, they also look at the way you say things. It's not always what you say, guys, especially when you communicate with women. It's the way you say it, right? So working on that is very important. So let's move it back to testosterone, right? With the body shape, right? That gives you confidence. So testosterone will give you that fight response, basically. So you have fight, flight, and freeze, right? The 3 Fs, fight, flight, freeze. And everybody has their own natural reaction based on their temperament, hormonal system, their genes, and so on, and learned behavior, let's say. But we also need to understand, let me take some water. Guys, my mouth is dry as hell. Kind of hot in the Netherlands the last couple of weeks. All right. So what I wanted to say regarding testosterone. You fight, flight, and freeze, right? Those are the three reactions we normally have. What testosterone does, unmotivated people have either the flight response or they have the freeze response. Freeze is the worst, right? Because you just freeze, you don't do anything, right? You take no action. So the worst response to me is freeze. If you flight, there's maybe a reason where you have a flight response, right? You can justify that to a certain degree. But what you need in life, if you want to battle life, right? It's tough. If you want to battle life, you need to have a fight response. You need to be a little bit disagreeable. You cannot let everybody walk all over you, right? You need to be a little bit disagreeable. What testosterone does, it gets that out of you. And what it also does, it develops your beard grow. It develops your, like I say, your shoulders, your sex drive, which is really important, guys. All those type of things it will develop. So when you match these two things, right, testosterone and dopamine, T of testosterone plus the D of dopamine equals motivation. So guys, that's it. It's not this crazy formula or something. It's being motivated is something you can fix. Anybody who comes to me and says, I'm motivated, I say, okay, bullshit. Okay, come here. Okay, I say, do you go to the gym or do you work out or do you do something that improves your testosterone? No. Okay, fix that first. What is it you do that declines your testosterone? I jerk off, I smoke weed, and I drink alcohol. Well, let's stop with the jerking off, the smoking weed, and the alcohol. That will limit the whole testosterone dopamine decrease thing, right? Because it's a double killer, right? Okay, let's start. So if you start on improving stuff, literally, that looked bad on screen, man. Well, if you start with improving stuff, right, and decreasing what like negatively affects it, that's already a first win. If you just stop with the negative parts, that's also already something good. But let me tell you something. You cannot replace negative behavior by just doing nothing. You can only replace negative behavior by doing something new, right? Okay, that's dopamine. And testosterone is the same thing. Dude, when did you go to the gym? When was the last time you learned a new skill? When did you learn to ride a motorcycle? When did you learn to fight or to do an MMA? When did you learn when did you learn to fight with a gun? Or did you take shooting lessons or whatever? So guys, listen, man. Let's just be honest here. When it comes to these type of things, we need to be able to improve, right? So these are always the things I start with when people come to me. I have a lack of motivation or a lack of whatever. I start with these two things. Okay, let's move on a little bit. I skipped the clip a little bit. I thought it was better, but it's a little bit too complicated, I would say. I'm going to compile maybe some videos on my channel itself to explain this a little bit better, because what I see here is too complicated for most people. So I'll dumb it down a little bit so also young guys can understand, because a lot of difficult words are used. Okay, let's see if I can have here a little bit about, let's just give a small example. Again, Dr. Human. Guy is great, man. A lie. Let me see another small video.
The major effect of testosterone is to make effort feel good. That's what testosterone does. The real question is, are you enjoying what you're doing? When effort feels good, life just gets way better. So there's something about these molecules that in an ancient way are linked to the will to live. They're linked to effort and making effort feel good. That's the holy grail. There's a very interesting relationship between testosterone and dopamine. So dopamine and testosterone are closely related in the pituitary system. And obviously testosterone comes from the adrenals and from the testes. But
okay, he says from the adrenals and from the testes. What he means with that is that for men, the majority of the testosterone we produce is in our ball sack, guys. Yeah, our balls, the holy grail. So make sure you take care of them puppies there, and also the kidneys, like part of the kidney part. I would say no, it's not that. I'm lying. Bijnieren. What is the word for that in Dutch? My friend explained it to me. Let me see. Adrenal glands. Okay, I didn't know this term. Sorry. So it's adrenal. It's also in the adrenal glands. Women only produce that in the adrenal glands, but we produce the majority in our balls. Balls. All right. Yeah, that's actually kind of funny, man. All right. Let me switch this puppy up.
The major effect of testosterone is to make effort feel good. That's what testosterone does. It has other effects too, right? Reproductive effects, androgenizing parts of the body, etc. But it makes effort feel good. The testosterone molecule is synthesized from cholesterol. Cholesterol can either be made into cortisol, a stress hormone, or testosterone, but not both. So you have a limited amount of cholesterol, and it gets diverted towards stress or this pathway where effort feels good. That's the pathway you want to get into. The anger pathway, if we were to just kind of play a mind experiment here, the anger eventually is going to divert more of that cholesterol molecule to cortisol and stress, and you will be slowly depleting testosterone. Now, going into this, you'll have plenty of testosterone, but after a couple days, there have been very interesting studies showing that testosterone doesn't necessarily drop with sleep deprivation. That's a bit of a myth. The real question is, are you enjoying what you're doing? If you can just convince yourself, or ideally, if you can just enjoy yourself, you are going to maintain or maybe even increase testosterone stores, which will make effort feel good. And to me,
Okay. You hear what he says? Make effort feel good. Make effort feel good. Make effort feel good. This is the reason why you instill this in young children and why you make them do activities. Let them play soccer. Let them do swimming lessons. Let them do piano lessons, whatever. Let them do biking, hiking, whatever. If you teach your young sons, whatever, as much activities, because they will automatically start associating effort with something that's good. And that's a real thing, guys. Effort is the basis of becoming successful. So that's why testosterone is that important. People always say, "Oh, you're this junk is just want to walk around and be all this macho man." No, it has nothing to do with that. For you as a man, testosterone is important because it creates a fight response in your negotiations on work with your wife, whatever. Stand up for yourself, right? To gain respect, testosterone helps you gain respect, right? That's why you need it. You don't need it because you want to be this macho man. No, you don't need it for that. Of course, being a little bit macho helps you with maybe the women, all right? But that's not what it's for. And the same goes with dopamine, right? All right, okay, I'm going to skip this clip again a little bit. I think my reasoning and my part for motivation, I think, is pretty clear. I don't want to go into like the whole thing down the road, right? I don't want to do that. But I think what I want to just resume a little bit is that if you're unmotivated, dude, just be honest. You can fix that. We can fix that. If you're unmotivated and you're watching this now, we can fix that, my friend. We just need to do a little bit of exercise, aka increase our testosterone, go to the gym, go to pull-up bar in your room. I don't care what you do. And we just need to do a little bit more of learning, getting better. Instead of being on your damn phone all day, jerking off, whatever you're doing, just say, okay, you know what? For the next coming 6 months, I'm just going to focus on protecting myself better. Let me do MMA classes. That will be my focus for the next 6 months. For the next 3 months, I'm just going to focus on motorcycle lessons. For the next 3 months, I'm going to focus on being a chess player. I have all my activities, but outside, I'm going to learn that. Then after 3 months, you're a chess player. You learn strategics. You learn thinking ahead. That will help you in your life. So you understand that the best investment you always do is in yourself. You don't invest in stocks right away. You invest first in the book that's going to learn you how to invest in those stocks, aka yourself first. All right. But motivation, guys, is a mindset, a state, a physical and a mental state. But it's temporary. That's the problem with motivation. Motivation is temporary. It's not like one time I'm motivated and now, oh, damn, all of a sudden it's going to change. No, that's the problem. So you need discipline, right? You have motivation, but you need to be disciplined. And the problem with discipline is it's explained in so many different ways. From, training your body to wake up at a certain time, your mind and whatever, doing things for 90 days, right? That the whole 90-day thing was like already rebuked like way a long time ago. But for 90 days to have new patterns in your life. No, new patterns depend on what type of thing you try to learn. If you do pilot training for 90 days, you're not going to be a good pilot, you know? So, but discipline Did I find a video of that? Okay, let me just try to see what this small part is.
People are highly variable. And if you keep up of habitual behavior, people are highly
One
variable.
second.
And if you can't form one habit easily, it doesn't mean that you can't form other habits.
Okay. In my book, basically, that you see here, let me change this. No, this camera, I think it is. All right. You see here my book, Break the Habit. So, guys, I'm not this big believer in habits. I'm a big believer in adaptability because habits do not adhere to reality. If the world changes and you have the same habits, do those habits work in the new world? No. I've always been doing everything on paper in my business. That's a habit. Now is the digital age. No, but I want to do it in paper. Okay, but then you lose. No, but I want to stick to my habits. No. So the whole habits are the holy grail thing is one of the most stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. Habits are based on the environment where you live in, right? That's the variable people forget. You need habits for the environment you live in. Certain habits are non-negotiable and certain habits are what we call negotiable. The non-negotiable habits are about your health, right? Those type of things. Those are the non-negotiable habits. Or maybe your religion. I pray 5 times a day. Or I go to the church every Sunday. Or go to the Saturday, I go to the synagogue. Whatever, right? Those are your non-negotiable things, no matter which environment you are. But other things like, let's say, paper and business, those need to be adaptable. If you are not, so that's why I always say you have your core ethos of what you think is your health, your religion, and the non-negotiable parts, your family, those type of things. Those need to, for you, be set in stone. The more black and white you have that in your head for yourself, the easier it is for you to make decisions. Okay, now let's talk about the negotiable habits, right? Because that's the whole thing with discipline. Oh, you just need to do something 90 days and I'm disciplined. I'm going to do this, then I'm disciplined. I'm going to wake up every day on 6 a.m. and I'm going to be disciplined. No. Because what you need is you need to understand how discipline forms, right? So I have a different approach at how discipline forms. It's not only, is it like I don't agree with, let's say, you need to do something over and over again to create a habit, to create discipline. It's not that I don't agree with that saying. I don't think it's the end and all solution to how it comes to life. And what I want to do with you is get you to the basics of how discipline actually forms, through my opinion, right? My opinion. Okay. For me, to understand and experience discipline, I think you need 3 things. The first thing I always say, the best thing as a man you can do is travel solo. I know, and not everybody has the same amount of money. You don't need to have your solo trip to Thailand or South Africa or whatever. Not everybody has that same wallet. But travel could also mean just go to another city yourself and meet new people. It could also mean go across state lines. Just cross a border in a country, get a passport. Get a passport. That's one of the most important things you should do. Get yourself a passport, all right? Why travel? I think that's the better question. I'm going to start a new series about travel on this show itself, so that you guys know how important I think it is. Why travel is important? Because you see new cultures, new religions, new ways of looking at life. Food, culture, experience, what not to do maybe, what to do. Because you get so much new information which you can process, it will change your outlook on life, right? And that's what you need to know. If it changes your outlook on life, you can move forward. So, and let me give you an example. So, one of my students, he came into my office one day. Nice guy, and he was doing good, So he was 19, he started, was not so confident about himself, built himself up, and then all of a sudden started becoming this rock star, taking over his dad's company with a lot of people working for him at a very young age in a difficult industry. So he became basically very, very good at what he did at a very young age, which I'm very proud of him. But one day he came into my office and he said, hey man, I'm making money, a couple of K a month. He was from nothing to something. And but yeah, every month when I look at my balance, it's empty. I don't know where it went. And obviously I was like, oh man. I was laughing my ass off. I was honestly laughing my ass off. I was like, okay, this is a good teaching moment. So what I did is, the reason why money leaves your hand quickly is because you do not appreciate where it comes from and what you need to do to get it. Once you understand that process, the way you look at money will become a lot different. So I said to him, okay, let's go with me on a travel. So I took him on a travel, and he just watched everything, how I did it. I traveled, how we book, what we do, the people we meet, the places we go, how I run my business from another country, all those type of things he saw, how I interacted, what I did in my daily life, how I went to the gym, whatever. But he also saw, which was actually the most important part, not my habits, which he saw. He saw other people. He met other people during my travel. And he saw how people thought, what they did. He got new ideas for his business. And he saw how hard people were working. They were working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And he was complaining. And that is what got the light bulb. So I said to him, you see, Mr. Hotshot, you think you're already there. Oh, I'm motivated. I'm 19, 20 years old. I'm making all this paper, right? He had that type of mentality because you got to get a little bit arrogant, right? Once you get a little bit of success, you get a little bit arrogant. And what happened after that? After that trip, he came back, was a totally different person. Because he said, dude, I never want to go there. He saw junkies on the street. He saw families living on the street. Dude, we saw terrible stuff there. But that made him fearful. It made him very fearful. They were like, whoa, what the hell? I never want to go back there. So it was basically like this. He was in that dark tunnel. He looked behind him. It was not dark. It was on fire. And in front of him was the light. So what that travel did was, instead of just being dark and empty, it was a fire from, hey, dude, I can never go back there. I don't want to go there because I know what's there. I don't want to live on the street, right? So that's what travel did. Now, I let him study history also. I let him study Napoleon. I let him study the pharaohs. I let him study everything about history. Islam, Christianity, Judaism, the timelines, how things worked. And then he started to realize that even all these great empires and kings, they also fall and fell. Once you understand historic events and how history went, and obviously people have different versions of history depending on where you live, but I would say the major events, the more you study that, you become appreciative about your current life. Did you know before 1900s, people would live off less than $1 a day? Do you know that if you live in the West, you're in the top 10% of world earners? Do you know, there are so many statistics you can throw out there. And once I studied that history, it gave me a profound sense of what actually could happen. Dude, if I mess up, because Caesar and all these kings and despots who had their tyranny or whatever kind of governmental system they had, in the end, all of them fell one time. So the moral of the story is, if they can fall, you can fall too. Do not become arrogant. And once you study that, you become a little bit fearful yourself, which is actually not a bad thing, which I will come to in a bit. But you know what's actually also very effective? You speak with experts. And what I mean is, you speak with people who messed up. So I have guys who I know, who are my friends actually, who went to jail, who actually did time. Different times, short and long. I still speak to these people. But I don't speak with them in the sense of, okay, we're best friends or something. Some of them I'm still friends with, actually. They were repentful or whatever, or they get back on their feet, right? Not that I grew up in this ghetto or something. No way I did that. But I know some of these guys very good, very well. Actually, one of the guys I went to high school with went to Syria. He fought for them. I don't know if I can even say it on the pod, but you know which organization he fought for. ISIS. So he was in my school, in my class, dude. I actually know that guy. He's still in Syria, by the way. I saw it on the news, but he's there for years, stuck in some damn prison. Maybe he's coming back right now. But what I tried to say is that Talking with experts is good because they can teach you what not to do. You can first-handedly see a guy went to prison, how his life is messed up. He talks about whatever the hell happens. So it's not something that people all the time saying, oh, you cannot meet with bad. No, look at what bad people do. Look at what stupid people do. Look at what people make bad decisions. You can be a smart guy and learn everything yourself, or you can be wise and study them. Study what they did. Like, okay, listen, hey, dude, I ain't going to do that because then I'm going to get to jail. Then I'm going to do this. So for me, if you look at the moral of all these three things I said, travel, study history, and talk with experts, right? If you take these three together, what is the moral element there? Fear. And that's what I wanted to activate. For me, discipline, doing what you have to do, even if you don't want to. That is the explanation that 9 out of 10 people give. But to me, that's not really the explanation. Discipline, there's two types of discipline. Discipline from forced discipline and discipline out of fear of loss, what I say, right? Forced discipline and selective discipline. Forced discipline is this. Everybody in the West or whatever wakes up 7 a.m., 9 a.m. is at work or whatever time you start. That's forced discipline. If you do not go to work, you basically don't have a roof over your head. You cannot eat, have food, pay bills. So basically, it's not a choice. You need to do it or else. That's forced discipline. A lot of people need to go to school, forced discipline. But this is where the separation comes. Great people have what we call, they can create their own discipline. If you're the guy, if you want to be an entrepreneur, and the only way you are disciplined is forced discipline, do not become an entrepreneur. You will fail miserably. If you have what we call selective discipline and you can create that yourself, that's what you want and that's what you need. But how does it come about? Fear. And if you do these three things I said, travel, read history books, and talk to experts, maybe you don't have all of them, but at least one of them will work. It will gain you a profound sense of fear. Not that you're scared of a guy. No, it's not about that. I don't want to lose my wife. I don't want to lose my kids. I don't want to lose my dad. I don't want to lose my friends. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose that. That will give you the fuel you need to move forward. Because it isn't. I don't want to end up as these guys. I don't want to live in that country with that shit. Listen, do you know that in South Korea, guys, they get 10 days of vacation and they work 6 days a week, average between 10 to 12 hours. That is South Korea, my friend. I like South Korea a lot. I've been there, but I don't want to live there. But that's just because of the working climate. So what I'm trying to say is that fear is a very good motivator in the sense of creating discipline. So if you're motivated, you add fear to that. You know that you're not the shit. You know that you can lose everything. You know that all these emperors fell. You know that because of travel, this is where you can end up. You know you talk to experts that are also a lot of negative sides. That fear will activate discipline, right? So you need to instill fear in your people in a way that it prohibits them from doing bad things. So fear is not necessarily something bad, guys. Fear will prohibit you from making stupid decisions. You don't need to, and that's the thing. You cannot be scared. You need to be fearful, right? That's the difference. Scared is that you freeze. I cannot do anything. Fearful is that like, okay, I'm going to go into this fight, but this guy is kind of big. Let me make sure that I'm standing here. I cannot make any mistakes. That's fearful, but it's fearful discipline. It's fearful to make you sharp, right? That's what I mean with fearful. Motivation plus fear equals discipline. Now we have motivation builds the Ferrari. Discipline maintains your Ferrari. But you understand that if you have a Ferrari, you also need to calibrate that son of a you know what. You know what. That sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger. What the hell, man? That didn't sound like anything. But you need to also be calibrating it, and that's willpower. Now, let's go again to willpower. Yeah, guys, willpower is also something very, I would say, hard to explain. Maybe people call it jibber jabber or is all this you're manifesting it or something. Let's see what David Goggins, listen guys, I like David Goggins a lot. David Goggins and Andrew Huberman, let's see what they have to say about how to build willpower. This clip is 13 minutes, but let's see what they have to say.
I'm going to share a little neuroscience tidbit,
Love it.
but I think it's one that you'll appreciate. Most people don't know this, but there's a brain structure called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. As we pointed out before, that's a noun, it's a name, it doesn't mean anything. We could call it the Cookie Monster.
Right.
But what's interesting about this brain area is there are now a lot of data in humans, not some mouse study, showing that when people do something they don't want to do, like add 3 hours of exercise per day or per week, or when people who are trying to diet and lose weight resist eating something.
Right.
When people do anything that they, and this is the important part, that they don't want to do.
Right.
It's not about adding more work, it's about adding more work that you don't want to do.
Yes.
This brain area gets bigger.
Yep.
Now, here's what's especially interesting about this brain area to me. And by the way, I'm only learning this recently because it's new data, but there's a lot of it. The anterior mid-cingulate
Interesting.
cortex is smaller in obese people. It gets bigger when they diet.
No way.
It's larger in athletes. It's especially large or grows larger in people that see themselves
I haven't watched this
as
clip, guys.
challenged and overcome some challenge.
Right.
And in people that live a very long time, this area keeps its size. In many ways, scientists are starting to think of the anterior mid-cingulate cortex not just as one of the seats of willpower,
Right.
but perhaps actually the seat of the will to live.
Now we're talking.
And when I learned about the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, I was like almost out of my seat. And I've been in the neuroscience game since I was 20.
Now
We're the
we're
same
talking.
age. And I was so pumped because I've heard of the amygdala, fear, prefrontal cortex, it's planning and action. I could tell you every brain area and I teach neuroanatomy to medical students. But when I started seeing the data on the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, I was like, whoa, this is interesting.
Yep.
And all the data point to the fact that we can build this area up.
Yep.
Okay, so he started talking about a part of the brain. Guys, it's very interesting, so don't worry. I'm gonna scroll back a little bit, but I'm gonna give you a small introduction before I head out. Sorry, this is the wrong one. Yeah. Messing this whole thing up. So what he's talking about is a part of the brain and how to get to willpower. Guys, honest truth, I've never seen this video before. I'm gonna get to my version of willpower, but let's watch a little bit more about what he has to say. But basically, willpower is something that's needed to move forward in life. It's the calibration process of your life.
But that as quickly as we build it up, if we don't continue to invest in things that are hard for us, that we don't want to do, that's the part that feels so Goggin-esque to me, that we don't want to do. Like if you love the ice bath, yeah, I love the ice bath, and you go from 1 minute to 10 minutes, guess what? Your anterior mid-cingulate cortex did not grow.
None.
But if you hate the cold water, if you're afraid of drowning and you get into water and put your head under,
Yep.
then your anterior mid and survive, then the anterior mid-cingulate cortex gets bigger. But if you don't do it the next day, or if you do it the next day and you enjoy it, because hey, I did it yesterday, woohoo, happy me, Merry Christmas, as you would say.
Merry Christmas.
Guess what? The anterior mid-cingulate cortex shrinks again.
Yep.
To me, this is one of the most important discoveries that neuroscience has ever made, because it's that I don't want to do something, but do it anyway.
That's right.
That grows this area. And it's almost like I have a friend, he's been sober 30 years from alcohol. And he always says, the amazing thing about addiction is there's a cure. The problem is it only works one day at a time.
Yep.
And so you have to renew it every day.
That's right.
So the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, to me, when I learned about it, two things went off in my head. Whoa, this is super interesting. And two, I got to tell David Goggins about this. And I waited until now to tell you because I felt like, for obvious reasons, I wanted to tell you and I wanted to tell you here.
Well, I love that because that's how I've lived my entire life. I don't know anything about that. But people go, man, you have such a strong will. It's something that you build. Like, I never forget, I was on a podcast one time, and this dude goes, you were blessed with a strong mind.
That mind is built.
Like, the hell are you talking about? I was blessed with a strong mind. That's something that you have to develop.
There we go.
You develop that over years, decades of suffering and going back into the suffer. That's why a lot of people who graduate Navy SEAL training, they want to know, like, I talk about it very openly all the time. A lot of guys don't want to go back into that water. Don't want to go back into the hard stuff. And maybe not anything hard in life. Once you get through it, it's like you become a POW.
Yeah, definitely.
Like how many POWs want to go back to POW camp? None. When something sucks so bad in life, this is on this that we're talking about now. Very few people want to go back. They're happy they graduated.
Right. Damn right.
I realized I'm the same way. I don't want to go back. I have to go back. I must go.
This is so damn interesting, guys. It's actually a surprise for me. I didn't even know that I queued up this video. This is very good. We're just gonna listen. Let me just freeze it a little bit. All right, guys. That's David Goggins. For the people who don't know him, David Goggins is one of the craziest dudes out there. He's a legit G. He's a G legit, certified, Navy SEAL training. He had, I think he's now in the second, he had the most pull-ups. This guy does everything every time that he doesn't want to do. Run like miles and miles and miles. You should just watch his videos. If you ever think that you're doing something that sucks, just go watch this guy, man. Excuses are useless with this guy. If he was my personal trainer, I would literally die every day. But that's the way he does business, right? So David Goggins, watch him first of all. Okay, let's resume a little bit what they said. So they keep speaking about effort and doing things you do not want to do. I'm not gonna lie. That's what we preach here. There are a lot of things I don't want to do. I don't want to learn how to shoot guns, but I need to do it. I don't want to learn all the times to defend myself, but I got to do it. I don't want to learn how to do taxes or this or that, but I got to do it. I don't want to be here all the time setting up this equipment, but I got to do it. And that's actually the moral of what they're saying here. If you do things you don't like, but still do it, even we Muslims have it, right? I don't want to pray 5 times a day, but we still do it, right? Why do you do it? Because after that definitely feels good. But now we understand like that it also enhances a certain part in the brain. And it makes total sense that athletes and entrepreneurs and people who do tough things in general, that part is a lot bigger. And I also understand why fat people, that it's lower. I totally understand it. Because, let's wait before I say something more. Let's keep watching, man. This is too good, man.
Back. Because that is exactly where all the knowledge of my life exists, was back there, and what you're talking about. Well, I didn't know anything about this, but how I grew a will was constantly doing these things. To now, it's just life. I wake up, while it still sucks, it's just life. You don't sit back and like, oh my God, like I have days I don't want to do it, but I know I'm going to do it. I know from years of just doing it. So that's beautiful. And this is why I came on here with you today. And I'm glad that you're talking about this, because human beings need to hear this. They need to stop hearing these hacks on this and that. There's no fucking hack, bro. There's no fucking hack. Yeah, you may this and that and saunas and all this shit yeah, it's great. There is no fucking life hack. To grow that thing, how do you grow it? Do it and do it and do it and do it. That's the hack. The hack is gonna fucking suck. And that's what I realized. Life, that's why I wanted to come on here today. I didn't want to come on here and talk about no fucking passion and purpose and how to get the fuck out of bed and how to hit a fucking alarm clock and all this catchphrase bullshit. Because that wasn't how I lived. I woke up like every human being does and goes, fuck, man, I'm a fucking piece of shit today. How the hell is this going to work out for me? And you fight that.
Yeah.
And you fight that. You don't override it. There's no override button. It's the conversation in your fucking, in your head. So how do you do that? We don't have enough of these conversations about the real conversation that every human being is having. And they have no idea how to get out of it, but they do. It's that shit right there, man. You gotta build your will. How do you build your will? Exactly what you said, man. Exactly what you said.
Well, I feel like knowing the name of something, anterior mid-cingulate cortex, doesn't fundamentally change us, but
Okay, guys, I'm not gonna watch the whole video, but I think you guys got the point, man. That's 7 minutes and 22 seconds of Huberman and Goggins, and I loved every second of it. I ain't gonna lie, I loved every damn second of it. So, listen, man, let's take it back. Now let's go to my variant. So this one was like amazing. I'm literally nothing I could say that I would disagree with. Totally made sense, because that's the thing, right? Everything that's hard in life, everything that's kind of sucks, in the end, when you do these type of things, the reward is insane. And the bigger it sucks and the bigger the hurdle it is, the better it will feel. That's just how it feels. And I just translate it into reward and sacrifice. Not to mistake with discipline. Discipline is waking up every day 7 a.m. Sacrifice is, hey, listen, I love the NFL. And in my NFL season, every Sunday I need to watch this game. Or I'm a soccer fan. Every Tuesday I need to watch my Champions League games. Sacrifice means that when 9 p.m. is, you're working on your business plan. You love Champions League and you need to do your business plan, but that sucks. I don't want to do it. 9 p.m. is going to take that ice bath. That sucks. And in the Champions League game, you do it because you need to do it. That's sacrifice, right? So sacrifice and reward is something that's very, it's tight, exactly the same. The equal the sacrifice equal the win. That's how I see it. And sometimes you sacrifice even more and you gain maybe even less, right? But you need to sacrifice a lot. That's the moral of the story. So willpower for me consists a little bit about 5 elements. Those are a little bit more practical elements. We are here speaking about the willpower element of effort in that sense, doing things you don't like. I think how you can also build your willpower is to have a certain understanding of yourself. So I made 3 questions for everybody. And the first question I made for every man was, if you die, how do you want to be remembered? So if you die, whenever that may will be, how do you want to be remembered? And people might say, Faye, what the hell are you talking about? I want to be remembered? No, listen up. I always say the best writers know already the end of the book. And then they can take every avenue to get to the end of the book. I think bad writers start something and they don't know where to go. So if you want to be a good writer of your life, let's start with the end of the book. And not start with a profession, but start by who do you want to be remembered as. So I want to be remembered as, for instance, as a guy who gave a lot of knowledge to the world, took care of my family, had a good business. And as a human being, I want to be known as somebody who was giving, somebody who was caring. So we're talking now about characteristic, giving, caring. And when, let's say after 50 years or whatever it may be, and your family is sitting at the table and they're looking at that picture of you, if you have a picture in your house, right, of you, and what do you want your grandchildren or children or whatever to say about that person in that picture, aka you? I think the better you can answer that question, the more relief you will feel. Let me tell you why. Because if you know the end of the book, let's go to the second question then. Who am I? Like, who am I? Most people live in denial. I'm not going to lie. Most people, they are really honest with themselves. Most people are in the flat denial. But how do you do something about that then, guys, right? You need to, it's like, who am I is basically this question. You stand in front of the mirror, basically naked, right? But figuratively. And you ask yourself really, okay, what do I do good? What do I do bad? But honestly, not lying like everybody does. No, real honestly. No, you didn't do your homework. No, you didn't do that. You didn't study. You didn't work that hard. Could you give more? Yeah, you could give more. Be honest with those type of questions. If you can ask yourself the questions of who you are. I'm a giving person. I'm a selfish person. I never give money to anybody. I'm a cheapskate or whatever. Be honest about these things. Because if you know where you are and you know where you need to go, and those two things do not align, then how in God's name can you get to the destination? If you're now a damn selfish son of a you-know-what, but you want to be this caregiving guy, because that's the answer to question number 1. And question number 2 is you're a selfish dude. How do these things correlate? So that will give you your compass. Oh, we need to go to Paris. Now I'm in Amsterdam. I don't want to be here. I need to get to Paris. All right. So that's what these 2 questions. The better you feel you can answer these questions for yourself, the better you will have willpower, aka calibration, to see where where you want to go. Because most people live throughout life without a damn compass. So the willpower variant that they're talking about is just getting yourself to do things to get better. I'm now giving you the willpower compass to arrive where you want to arrive. Because it's not only that you need to do things, you need to know where to go. Third question. Why are you the way you are today? I repeat, why are you the way you are today? And a lot of people may think, okay, dude, what a philosophical question again. Like, dude, come on, give us a damn break. Okay, I understand it. What I mean with that is that I think personally, and a lot of people would agree with me, even some scientists, most trauma that people have experienced, they probably experienced in the last 18 years or the first 18 years of their life. That's how I would pronounce it, right? The first 18 years of your life when you were a kid or whatever. I can give you an example from myself, from my childhood. When I was like 14 or something, and I remember this very clearly. We're in the cafeteria in high school, and there was this moment like people had, I'm wearing these type of clothes, Louis clothes, or G-Star, whatever. They would say something, and then came my turn, right? I ain't had shit on. I was like, I have clothes, So that moment did something to me. It did. People would say, dude, what are you talking about? You're 14. I know. It doesn't matter to anybody, but it did to me. If, let's say, I would walked around with that for the whole of my life, I would be, not that you're insecure or something. I was always a type of a confident guy in that sense. But at the same time, you're like, it makes no sense. But at the same time, there are also instances in your life when you were maybe 6, 9, 12, 11, 17, 19, that you had some of these moments. And if you cannot be at peace with that, it's like getting in the Ferrari, you're driving, and you start to take alcohol because you're driving now. You're drinking alcohol because you need to cope with it, right? You have past issues. Maybe you had abuse. Maybe you had somebody was killed. Maybe you grew up extremely poor. I don't know. There are a lot of things. But if you are not content with yourself, if you are not able to put that to peace, my friend, you're a ticking time bomb. It's just a matter of minutes, hours, days, weeks, years even, before you will finally crash. Because this is what happens. Like I said, you start drinking and driving from Amsterdam to Paris, and then before we get to Paris, the damn car crashes, right? That's something we want to avoid at all costs. I'm not saying you need to solve your past problems today, my friend, but the sooner you solve those things and this is the most important thing, be at peace with it. The moment you are at peace with it, then you can move forward. So we have 3 questions. When I die, how do I want people to remember me? Second, who am I? Third of all, why am I the way I am today? Those are our 3 questions. These 3 questions will calibrate your life. You start in Amsterdam, you end in Paris, you know who you are, you know where you need to go, and you understand that you need to be able to understand. Let me cancel this. So, let me get this stuff out real quick. Too much bullshit today, guys. Too much notifications. So you need to know where Amsterdam is, you need to know where Paris is, and you need to make sure we don't use alcohol. Dude, don't use coping mechanisms. That's what it is. If you do not solve it, you'll create coping mechanisms. 3 questions, 2 realizations. Realization number 1. In the next 100 years, we will see at least 10,000 years of technological change. Meaning, take a good look around you, the world it is right now. That what you're doing right now, there's a high likability that you will not be doing that in a couple of years. So you need to change, right? Adaptability, that's what I said. Stephen Hawking explained intelligence in the following way. Intelligence is the ability to adapt to change, aka adaptability. That's what Stephen Hawking, one of the most genius people around the world, have. It's not about how book smart you're in or whatever. No, it's about your knowledge that you have that you can apply to your environment and situation when it changes and how fast you're able to do that. Those are the real winners. And let's say in COVID, people invested in Zoom or whatever, right? Those are people who had were looking forward in that sense. So that's what I'm trying to get at here, right? That's what the realization needs to be. If you are this guy, I've learned everything, No, you need to be eternal learner. That's the news. If technology changes in 100 years plus 10,000 years, it means you need to learn. Because if you do not learn about that new world and technology, you will be obsolete and you will be replaced, redundant, aka no family, no money, no this, whatever you want. Realization number 2 and point number 5. You need to have what I call the database theory. You cannot do everything in life yourself, my friend. You cannot do that. You need people around you. God is, or whatever entity you worship, or no entity, has given you a limited time span. And within that time span, you cannot be a doctor, soccer player, astronaut, pilot, 10,000 things. You simply don't have the time. So you need to make use of other people, their databases. And that's the thing. A lot of people, they always hang around with the same type of people. That's stupid. I only hang out with soccer people or lawyers or finance people. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Because the only thing you guys are going to do is compete with each other. Oh, did you also read that magazine? Did you also go to that vacation spot? Oh, all your friends are going to be there. You don't learn anything new. You go to read the same books. You do the same things. You stay just as stupid as you are. But the key is in hanging out with all different types of people, because you can access their database and their knowledge set. They can solve something in your life which you cannot, and vice versa. So you need to understand using other people, their competencies. Second realization. If you're always going to be this soloist guy, you're never going to make it. Just quit. So the 3 questions and two realizations summarized. I start in Amsterdam, aka who am I? I messed up that one. We need to go to Paris. End of the book, right? I need to know where I need to go. If I die, how do I want people to remember me? I'm in Amsterdam, aka who am I? Question number 3, why am I the way I am? Translation, I need to make sure that I answer this question, because else when I'm going to drive from Amsterdam to Paris, I'm going to drink, I'm going to do stupid stuff, speed, and then I'll crash because I need coping mechanisms to deal with the past. I need to realize that there's going to be a lot of technological change in the next 100 years. If I have this mindset of I know everything, I'm going to be a victim instead of a winner. Realization number 2 and point number 5. God has not given me the lifespan to learn everything. I need to network and make sure I know all different types of people. I need to access their database, aka their knowledge, skill set, whatever they do in business. That's willpower. That's what I call calibration. So what we had with David Goggins and what we have with Andrew Huberman is the effort part of willpower. And this is what I call the compass part of willpower, calibrating your life. So if motivation built your Ferrari, if discipline maintained it, then willpower is the one that calibrates it. So, and the last part is the 5 people around you. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that. I'm going to use a total different episode just about networking and how you create that 5 people around you and the activities you need to do to get these 5 people around you. Basically, Jim Rohn already said, right? You're the average of the 5 people around you. And I totally agree with that. I 100% agree with it. If you hang out with all stupid people, hey, listen, you're going to be stupid person number 6. It's that easy. But what you need to do is you need to have different type of people around you. And I made character sets. You can agree or you can disagree, but I've basically created 6 characters. I'm not going to go through all their types, but basically to sum it up, to give you an idea of how to create a team. You have a leader. Somebody needs to make sure everything sticks, has a vision, can plan, aka, right? Small version. You need to have what we call an executor, somebody who gets the hands dirty, the guy with the willpower, the guy with the motivation and the discipline. Everybody 9 a.m. in the office, that type of mentality. Go to the gym, no effing around mindset, right? Then you have part number 3. What is part number 3? That's the analyst. You need the third guy you have in your team is the analyst. The guy who can, what I call is analytical thinking. You give an idea, you create something, you can break it down, make it better. If you look at the temperaments of these guys are typically calm, very matter of fact, and sometimes introverted in some sense, but very matter of fact. Non-emotional types. Let's look at some other 3 characteristics. You need to have what we call the creator. A farmer, somebody can create a product, somebody can create a music song, somebody who's creative, somebody who thinks about an idea, right? You have the analyst who can analyze the idea. You need somebody also to create an idea, right? The fifth personality type you would like to associate yourself with is what I call the Joker. The Joker is the salesman who can speak with anybody. He can talk to anybody, get into any party, speak like hours and hours. That's what the Joker is. The Joker can change appearances, wear any type of clothes, go to any party, any event. You need a talker. You need a talker. And the sixth one you need is what we call the X Factor. And the X Factor is what makes your group unique. Maybe it's an invalid person. Maybe it's some guy in music. Maybe it's a car mechanic. I don't know. It's somebody who doesn't fit any box, right? You always have people who fit boxes, and you also have some people who don't fit the box. They are what we call X Factors. Some people would say he's the stupid guy of the group, but it just matters how you describe it, right? Just watch Hangover, right? You also have the X Factor there. We all know who it was, who drugged everybody. I think the X Factor is something that will make you very, it will make sure your group stays very connected. So we have some analytical parts, right? So we have some people who are non-emotional, but let's look at the Joker. You need that emotion for sales, right? Well, let's look at the creator. You need that emotion in your creativity. Let's look at the X Factor. You're emotional in the sense of what you provide for the group. So we have high energy people, we have low energy people, we have thinkers. That's my squad that I compromised. A leader, an analyst, somebody who's an X Factor, right? Somebody who is an executor, somebody who's Joker, salesman, somebody who is an X Factor, right? So those are all the 6 personality types that we're talking about. So I'm not going to go into it too much. I want to end the show in a couple of minutes. What I want to resume a little bit about what this is, guys, this formula, MDW5, is timeless. You can use it in any time and any age. So motivation builds your Ferrari, discipline maintains your Ferrari, willpower calibrates your Ferrari, and the 5 people around you are the insurance policy to your Ferrari. They make sure you do not become a fuck up in life. That's why you need to have good people around you. So create, maintain, calibrate, insure. That is your game plan as a man. I need to create value. I need to maintain my value. I need to make sure I calibrate it for the new technology, ages, or where I want to go. And I need to make sure that I have a support system behind me when all that fails, aka your insurance policy. That's what MDW5 is, guys. It's not this crazy damn thing about success. Everybody has their different version of what success is. But I know for sure if you use this, you have the opportunity to get there because you have all the tools and elements. In school nowadays, what do you learn? You have 10, 12 different subjects. You do not learn anything about taxes, about a mortgage, about how to apply for certain things. You do not know anything about the law system. All the things you need in life, you do not learn necessarily at school. That's where life school is about. You don't learn driver license. There are a lot of things you don't learn there. So you need to be comfortable with alternative learning. You're not going to learn everything in school. All these people all think, you don't, it's for school. You're so stupid. Most things you don't learn in a school. You learn outside of it during life, but you need to take classes, practices, courses forever. That's alternative knowledge, right? You need to be a learner about that. You need to understand that that's where the bread and butter is. It's what you do after your school. It's what you do aside from your school. Build the character, build the person. I could not speak this fluently English. When I was 18, I started really talking English. But it wasn't this fluently, had this vocabulary. It was built. The same with what David Goggins said. Like, I wasn't this man with this massive willpower. I became that man. I became the guy with a podcast. He became the guy with this. He became a singer. You need to become that. You're not born that way, my friend. So MDW5, it will fix you. So some of you will say, hey, Faye, you're totally crazy. You just were another guy who came with the formula and whatever. Dude, listen, I understand that. I understand that that's maybe your vision. And I understand that maybe for you it's not practical. But if you really think about it, if you want to get something in life, these are the things you need to solve. The rest is all hearsay. The rest is all whatever. If you're motivated, disciplined, and you know where you want to go and you have good people around you, my friend, that's all you need. And the rest you can figure out in your personal life and how you want to live your life, your religion, your sex, or whatever. That's all up to you. But I'm just going to say to you, if you do these things, you'll be at least in a position to decide a wife, to have a family, to pursue your religion, to create the time, to have the informal skills, formal skills, to have your work on your health. It will at least get you into the position of luxury that you can make these decisions and you understand how you can get better. Which with this, no matter how dark your situation gets, With this, you understand, at least I know how to get back. And that's what I want to end with. So, I know this was a little bit of a dry episode, guys, but sometimes you need dry episodes. You need just good, solid information. And maybe it was a little bit boring. I get it. But we'll clip it and we'll make it a little bit easier for you. So, Selecta, are we gonna go out with like a banger? Like and subscribe, guys. Are we gonna do some fun audio mixing here? Watch our show next week. I'm gonna do, like I said, I announced I'm gonna do a lot more shows in July, in August. There are gonna be a lot of new shows. What we're doing now is just laying a basis. I want to give you some information. Our real storm is gonna come soon in the second part of 2025. And with that being said, guys, maybe you think I'm wrong, right? And maybe you think I'm crazy. Go play it, man. Maybe you think I'm crazy, but ask yourself this. Guys, one last thing. So, guys, maybe you think I'm wrong. Maybe you think I'm right. I don't know. But ask yourself this question. What if you're wrong and I'm right? And what if I'm right, you're wrong? With that being said, peace and next time.
Scared men don't win.